Can you tell me, first of all, just to put things into context, why it is that you are here, why your company is here at the Rio+20 conference?
Well, our company is absolutely sure and convinced that focusing on sustainability and in farming that makes sense for the future to eradicate poverty, our equipment is very important. And as many don't understand really the focus that modern farming needs to go through in order to produce enough food for the planet, we decided to came. We always are very focused on sustainability, and we wanted to show what we can do and how our equipment can help to produce more environmentally correct food for the planet.
I mean, there is perhaps a divide between some environmentalists and those who work every day in the agricultural industry, but there is room for negotiation, room for compromise, as far as you're concerned, I understand.
Absolutely. Now, first of all, we need to go by facts. We still have 1 billion of people starving. So we need to improve our agriculture in order to feed the world. We will only feed the world with modern technology, respecting the environment, being sustainable. And that is exactly where we come in, with our biomass technology, with our no-till planters, reducing CO2 emissions, improving a lot of effects like erosion, wind erosion, improving the temperature on the soil. There is a lot of small details that our customers, farmers, already know. But the civil society unfortunately still sees farmers as exploring the soil, and that's not the case.
We'll come to biomass and no-till in a moment, but from a common sense perspective, you have figures that prove that environmentally sustainable methods are actually what farmers want. Is that correct?
Absolutely. For example, I mean, we are in Rio here, and it's 20 years ago since our last meeting. In Brazil, there was only 4% of the planted area with no-till. Today, it's 75% of the farmed area uses no-till. Just in one single year, this reduces the carbon emissions by 320 million tons. This is a side effect, actually. The farmers are doing no-till because they respect the soil, they keep the organic material in the soil, they reduce the water erosion, they improve the water in the soil. And what many people don't know is the temperature, as I mentioned before. Keeping a no-till farming, you reduce the temperature on the soil. The results are that, in average, the yields in this country have increased by over 50% in the same area. In certain cases, up to 70%. Only with very simple tools like the no-till.
I mean, it seems to speak for itself, no-till, but for the non-farmers, I mean, is it simply that? Is it simply that you don't till the land? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, you're right. It's not that simple. I mean, this country has been forced, Brazil I'm speaking, to do no-till because the central areas of Brazil have very acid soils, and these soils normally allow you to do two crops a year. In the traditional European Western way, with tillage, the soils became so poor that they couldn't farm. So then in the 70s, they started to look into the technology of no-till. And this technology means on one side, of course, that you simply don't till. On the other hand, you have to use chemicals to help you, and you need to ensure that the chemicals stay in small quantities and stay in the soil and don't contaminate rivers or other water sources. There is a lot of improvement in the last 20 years about how to do no-till. But no-till today in countries like the United States, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, and Australia are a point of no return. They will just grow. Areas like Asia, Africa, and Europe, there would be needed a stronger focus from the private sector, but also from the government to ensure that this practice are learned and are used by farmers, because the first 2-3 years are not easy. normally after 6-7 years of no-till that you really see the benefits of it.
I mean, presumably as methods change, farming methods change, equipment has to change also. How do you meet that? Is it a constant effort, a constant research to ensure that the right technology, the right machinery is available for changing agricultural methods?
Yes. Of course, New Holland is very focused in investing in technology and improving the quality of the equipment, exactly because of the reasons you said. We need to better understand the soils, which we are doing, and this is why we are improving our equipment always to improve the practice of no-till. For example, on the tractor sides, we improve constantly the weight. We want to reduce the weight. A tractor needs weight, otherwise it can pull his implements. On the other hand, we don't want soil compaction with the equipment. So the development on that side is very large. The other one is, of course, on reducing emissions, not only on our engines, but also making sure that with softwares, we reduce the quantity of driving over the field. So actually, I would say that we as mankind don't need really to worry about producing enough food with the technology that we have, that we are developing. The point that maybe we need to worry more is that farmers need to make enough money in order to produce the food.
Going back to fundamentals, healthy soil is something that I guess ancient farmers have known about since farming began. But in the modern world, when we're trying to feed 7 billion, possibly 9 billion in the future, we seem to be going back to that fundamental, or the emphasis seems to be on that fundamental policy. Healthy soil makes sense.
Well, I'm a farmer myself, so the farm is our biggest asset. The land is our biggest asset. And if we don't conserve, if we don't really take care of a healthy soil, we are destroying our own assets. So farmers now have realized for decades that with the new technologies of no-till, you can actually not only reduce the cost of producing food and increase the crop, the yields, but you actually conserve and actually enrich your soil. Particularly areas of no-till with over 20 years have now organic material in the soil of over 6-7%, which before they had less than 1 or 2. So the conservation is actually enriching the soil and is actually therefore reducing the need of chemical fertilizers, for example. So sustainable farming is not something only for the environment. For smart farmers today, it's also for their pocket.
Something we mentioned earlier was biomass. Could you explain a little bit more biomass and how it benefits modern day farmers?
Yes, this is actually a very, very simple and tangible example of how we can improve. Brazil is known for making a lot of sugar. It's the largest sugar producer in the world, and also for their ethanol bases, for the cars that run with ethanol. In New Holland, together with CTC, the Center of Technology for Cane in Brazil, we have developed in the last 2 years the right tools to use the leftovers after the cane is being cut, which we call biomass. So the leaves fall on the ground and they stay and they protect the soil. But the leaves are in such high quantity that we using 50%, for example, we then use them, bale them, and after baling them, we take them and inside the sugar mill, they are used to make energy. And amazing is that the existing sugar mills in Brazil, if they just use 50% of their biomass, they can generate 14,000 megawatts a year in electricity. This is the same size of the largest hydropower in Brazil with Paraguay, Itaipu. So without having to do anything negative to the environment, we can produce a lot of energy by just using this so-called waste, which is not a waste, which is biomass.
I mean, the technology seems to be there, the knowledge seems to be there, and the will to improve sustainability seems to be there. What is it that companies like yours would like to see out of the Rio+20 summit and beyond to make your growth, to make advancement of technology move a little faster in a sustainable way?
Well, first I think that it's important that the fight becomes a constructive fight and that tangible actions are being taken. We are very much in favor, for example, to put certain targets for biomass. We know that the technology exists. We know that the biomass is on the ground. So why not force the society to take responsibility towards it? Not making a law on the sugar mills, but in general on the society, on the state. On the no-till side, I think the critical mass that is needed is exactly when you asked me before, will people use that technology? What is needed to use that technology? So the technology exists, but how can we ensure, for example, that in East Africa, no-till farming is being implemented? And we will need support. Of course, this support will come from universities, from governments, but for example, I would say we should have a more tangible plan from that institution to say each area should have a percentage of no-till in the next 5 years, because we know all the consequences, positive ones, that will happen for the farmer and for the local society. So maybe we need to focus on smaller goals that are more tangible and not only look at the cities but also look into the farmland. I think that the farmland will benefit from sustainability much faster for the planet. For example, just the numbers of no-till in this country, in Brazil, of 320 million tons of CO2 not being emitted in helping the society is an amazing number.
So finally, I mean, for the non-farmers, for the city dwellers, for the food consumers of the world, I mean, are all the elements in theory in place to produce enough food to feed 7 billion, 8 billion people in a sustainable way if all those bricks are in place?
Look, there are many studies there, and for me, the fear of our planet not being able to produce enough food for the farmers does not exist. The Green Revolution showed us that we were able to adapt and change. Did we do certain mistakes during the Green Revolution? Absolutely. Did we learn from them? Absolutely. Will we learn more? Yes, we will. Will we be able to use technology in our favor? Yes, we will. So I think that the more critical point for the society is, as you said, for the city folks, is to realize that good, clean, healthy food will become more and more costly because farmers, in order to produce it, need to receive something for it.